welcome to episode 65 of the Try Time podcast, and probably one of the most poignant episodes we've ever recorded. You may have noticed, regular listeners, that the intro music, all that, not really the appropriate vibe for today's pod. As we're recording this, it is around 24 hours since the breaking news came out of Leeds Rhinos of the passing of one of Super League, England, Rugby League's greatest in Rob Burrow. We all have our own memories of Rob on the pitch, which I'm sure we will no doubt touch on, both as a supporter and as one of the biggest rivals. But one thing has been clear from the messaging across the globe, that Rob held a place in the hearts of every single Rugby League fan. The 6'3" man in a 5'4" body, the biggest little men in Super League history, and just generally one of the greatest to ever play the game. Our thoughts, as of course, with everyone in the Rugby League community, are with his parents, Jeff and Irene, his wife, Lindsay, his 3 children, and of course, the wider friends and family. And without further ado, let's jump into the main pod. Yeah, I discussed in the monologue just previously to kick things off. This is episode 65 of the Try Time podcast. I'm, of course, Matt.
And I'm Callum.
And yeah, slightly different in terms of not kicking off with Rugby League this week, because it, like we say, just would not be appropriate in the circumstances. And I don't know how you're taking this from the rival club's perspective, but it just doesn't feel real yet.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird feeling, and I kind of mirror a lot of what people are saying from like rival fans, that you absolutely hated him when you were playing against him because he just was so consistently good and such an annoyance of a player, but then you can just admire everything that came after, I guess, and what a man really to fight through all that and everything, and like you've said, thoughts are with the family, friends, and everything like that, But yeah, it's a sad day for the whole of Rugby League, really. Sad time.
I mean, it's testament, isn't it, to his ability on the pitch and him as a person, that you have all these rivals who hated playing against him. And this isn't because he was some grub or anything. It was because he was that good and that nice of a person off the pitch. It was all out of jealousy that he wasn't playing for your team. And that, I think, is probably the biggest testament to him as a character, as how much Rugby League has come together. But, well, ever since, December 2019 and the news of the diagnosis first broke, it's this moment that we all knew were coming, but we're always dreading. And obviously this has happened, the day before excavation work begun on the new MND facility named after him at Seacroft. It's incredibly poignant timing, and I mean, how long before the statue is put up at Headingley or the stand is renamed? Because something's round the corner, it has to be.
Yeah, 100%. It's got to be, really. I think I look back to the game, and I can't remember exactly which year it was now, but the game where the Legends played at Headingley, the pre-season game, has got to be one of the best games that I've probably been to, when you look back at that and how surreal it was. And, you had an absolute packed out Headingley, you had all the legends there from both teams, such a great occasion. You've got, you had the Bulls fans chanting Rob Burrow's name, the whole stadium was doing it, and it was just such a surreal experience, which, I mean, looking back now, it was just, I was so glad that I went to that, to that, really.
I mean, I do wonder, when obviously we will touch on this towards the back end of the podcast, but we've obviously got the Challenge Cup final coming up this weekend, and whilst there will no doubt be all the minutes applause and everything else, I'm 99% sure at some point all the audio is going to pick up is his chant ringing around Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, and Leeds aren't even playing, which tells you everything.
Well, the women are.
The women, yeah.
But no, truly the only man in cast to have a full-time job. It's a fitting chant, okay? But yeah, we've seen obviously representatives from all the clubs come to Headingley already with various tributes. There's, Callum was there, I believe, with the signed Salford shirts with the tributes on. There's Wigan down there. Obviously, Castleford sent. I've forgotten who now. It was Gary and a couple of others, I think, down there. It's great to see that for all we slay each other and throw all sorts of rival hooks around, that actually when the sport comes together, it really does come together in a way nothing else can do.
Yeah, 100%.
And I mean, I guess we've obviously been doing a lot of top fives lately, so I guess kind of amongst that, a bit of informal. What are the best memories we have? And I'm going to leave this as on the pitch because whilst, I accept and I very much appreciate that all the post-diagnosis work was, fantastic and the platform that built. I think ultimately we are a rugby podcast and this is about the rugby legacy, and let's not lose the man that he was before all this happened and remember him as more than just a case of MND.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. Because obviously you're a Leeds fan, so you'll have a lot more. But I mean, I have still got some sort of things that ping into my head when I think about Rob Burrow and how great of a player and man on the pitch he actually was. But I'll let you start with your first one first. I don't want to take one of your good Leeds ones away from you.
Oh, I've got plenty. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say. I mean, can you start anywhere else but that grand final try in 2011 against St Helens? I don't think there was another player in the league and potentially even ever since who could have scored that try.
Yeah, is it the best grand final
because somehow he still didn't get his head taken off by that swinging arm. He's just like, nope, I'm ducking under. Yeah. No one else would have gone under that gap. And it will go down as one of the greatest tries in Super League history, and to do that on the biggest stage of all as well. It's the poster almost to all his highlight reels, and there's a valid reason why, because it will forever be one of those key moments that even in 20 years, you're going to hype up grand finals. It is that era's equivalent of wide to west.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one where, I mean, they'll definitely show it this year, but I feel like even in the past, they've always shown that when you sort of seen the Sky Sports adverts for Super League or the grand final, that is one of the tries at the show. Yeah, it's that memorable.
It's a fantastic try, and we're never going to see that again. Let's be honest.
No, definitely not.
I'll let you go in next because otherwise,
I'll get this one off my chest, and then I'll let you reel off some of your Leeds ones. So I think my big one that I remember him from, and a lot of people will, is obviously when he stood up to Epelami Luaki.
That was on my list.
Yeah, I knew it would be. That's why I'm getting this one out, because obviously Rob Burrow scored some great tries, which I'm sure you're gonna mention. But obviously, as not being a Leeds fan at the time, you can sit back and say they're a good try, but they don't quite have that same feeling attached to them. Whereas this, everyone basically laughed at Luaki really in this situation, and it was such a memorable exchange. Like, I've just got it vividly in my head now. Like, that just shows how, like you said at the start, 6'3" man in a 5'4" body, like just such a brave player and just not scared of anyone really.
I think that epitomised his career, didn't he? He put his body where people twice his size would be too afraid to go, and
yeah,
it's fair to say he cops more than a few too many shots round the head for it.
Yeah,
I mean, if he was playing today, I don't think there'd be a single game goes by that somebody wasn't carded for tackling him.
Yeah, it'd be a bit of a cheat code in today's game, wouldn't it, really, actually, in terms of that?
I know, I mean, we're never going to find another, but...
Yeah, oh no, definitely not. They don't make him like him anymore.
No, definitely not. Yeah, that's another one that's always on his highlight reels as well, usually towards the end.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, everyone's seen this little fella darting through all the half gaps on the pitch, and then suddenly you want mate to somebody an entire foot taller than him. You know, he, like you say, had the heart and the bravery of right up there with the best of them. I know you mean, there's almost too many good tries to speak of.
Yeah.
I think you know, it's testament as well, the World Club Challenge stuff. Even against the Aussies, who, let's face it, by the end of his career were kind of established that the NRL was a level above. Even in that underperforming 2016 side that took on North Queensland with what I believe it was something like him and Jordan Lilly in the house. It might have been Maguire and Lilly with Burrow at hooker. Yes,
Yeah.
it was, because Falloon had got injured on Boxing Day. He still managed to find a way past the NRL's greatest by doing what he did best. Spotting the half gap and just zooming through it in a way that nobody else ever could. It was almost direct contrast, the famous team try that he capped off against Canterbury almost 10 years earlier at Ellen Road, which, yeah, I think half the squad must have offloaded in that play. It was like, you think, people say Leeds just throw it around aimlessly under Rowan Smith now. No, that's throwing it around aimlessly, except that one sure as hell paid off. And
yeah,
there's no better man you'd have rather had finishing it off than Robbie.
Oh no, definitely.
And I think, obviously, we touched on the match in 2020 and what an experience that was, because who'd have ever thought half of those players would be playing again? And obviously, this was January around this point. You listen to the post-match interviews and you can already see that he's starting to struggle with his speech. His physique is not anything like what it was in his playing days. To even get onto the pitch and play 10 minutes, regardless of the role, let's both be honest here, dummy half, distribution, like he'd never been away. And the bravery to go and do that and be in that public spotlight after all that's happened is fantastic. And my only regret from that game was that Bradford didn't let him score, because what a moment that would have been.
Yeah.
But, despite that, you can say that he earned all his tries and was never gifted one of them. So
yeah,
perhaps that's probably a good thing, because it would not have, nobody wants the charity case pity try, and neither would Robbie, because the heart was always there.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd have actually taken that if it were, I imagine if he were on an half break,
I don't think he'd have necessarily taken it. I think the crowd would have done.
Yeah, I think for both sets of fans would have taken it as well. I think it were. I mean, Bulls, we have the banner and it comes out on certain games, especially the ones against Leeds. I can't exactly remember. I know it's rivalry aside, and it's got like the Leeds colours and the Bulls colours on it. And it's kind of like, and I believe it's going to be coming out of the next Bulls game as well, so we'll see it there. But it's like little touching things like that throughout the whole rugby league community.
Again, I think we're going to see a lot of Burrow 7 flags across all the grounds, to be honest, over probably this season.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I think I'm going to cap this off with another one of my memorable games, which might actually segue us into what's currently going on a little bit too, which is a very accidental segue. And this is back in 2011, and this was his 10-year testimonial, where obviously this was pre-Headingley rebuild. I remember we didn't open the full ground that day. I was in the old wooden seats of the North Stand.
Oh God, I remember that.
It's the only time I've ever sat in those for a game of rugby. And it was a good old-fashioned demolition job of Featherstone, which everyone bar the fans loves to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, against probably his hometown clubs, let's face it. I think he's slightly more the Fev side than the Cast side. And, looking back now, that's one of those games where you just think it's any old testimonial. It's a pre-season warm-up match. Who actually is that bothered? And now it's one of those, actually, I am so glad I went to.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Even though there was still so much more to come in his career, half this highlight reel hadn't happened. This was pre the St. Helens try. There was still so much to celebrate, even by that point in time. And the fact that this was almost not even his peak in many ways, it just epitomizes the longevity and that bulldog spirit that he had to never stop raising his game. And right until the very last one he played, I mean, he went out on a grand final win. How many players can say that? And perform at that level for just under 20 years is a fantastic career, and everything aside, something that any man could be proud of. And there's so much more that we've not touched on. And for all you guys watching, you've probably got tons of other highlights that we've not even mentioned here. And to be honest, if we mentioned them all, we'd be going longer than the Johnny Lou pod and we wouldn't even touch anything else.
Yeah, definitely. We could talk about this all day, really.
And, it's incredibly touching to see all of the league and the fans come together, like we said at the top of the show. And yeah, I'm kind of still a bit speechless coming from one of our own. It's going to be weird. And obviously our next home game against Lee is, and was already due to be, our MND awareness round.
Yeah.
Which is going to take on a whole new meaning now. I was saying this earlier, I would not be shocked if we don't play in, well, either this one that was our first tribute shirt that's got obviously his number 7 on, and all the weird random lines on this top have reference to something in his career, be it the number of appearances, the number of tries scored. This is effectively his career in a shirt, or this one here that, of course, his children designed for our 2021 Magic Weekend fixture, I believe. It would be something along those lines that would be a fitting tribute to also his family for the fantastic work they've done in supporting the cause, and obviously for what they will now have to go through in the next chapter of their lives, which, we don't wish on anybody.
Oh, no, definitely not. It's, it is very sad, like we've said. And obviously to audio listeners who aren't watching the video, Matt has, as you can imagine, got one of the shirts on, and the other shirt, well, he's got 2 shirts hung up behind him, just so you can paint a picture of that, or what he's on about.
Yes, on the other side, I've also got last year's, the tartan one, which of course was the MND one when we lost another great rugby fighter of that in Doddy Weir. And yeah, I'm sure we will come up with something for it to mark the occasion.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And yeah, I hope we win every single game, but with all the emotion that will be in that day, and hopefully Rob's spirit looking down on the team, it will be a great one to remember. And guy, if you are a neutral club fan, and there's no better way to mark that, given the MND occasion of that game, than to get yourself down to Leeds and celebrate his career, because it's about more than the teams playing and the result on that day. Rugby's a game. This is real life ultimately, and this stuff's far more important. This life's too short.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, before we have all the viewers crying and all that, we should probably park our thoughts and our feelings and our prayers to one side and look at what else has gone on this weekend, because rugby has been through some interesting results over the years, and this was no exception. Do you want to start on the Championship? Because this is proving to be a very weird league at the moment. I mean, actually, should we start with Featherstone, given we were just on about them losing his testimonial?
Yeah, I mean, we can start. Fev's an easy one to go to, really, I guess. But
I mean, I don't know if this is going to get included, but a friend of the podcast, Harry, who of course never turns up to games anymore, has brilliantly provided a contribution to us on this point, which Callum may or may not choose to edit in at this point.
Yeah, it depends if I remember or not. But it's obviously with Fev, they've got the big sort of the thing that's just come out today as we're recording this on Monday about, you know, the potential liquidation and things like that. And obviously at the minute, nothing's really certain. And by the time you're hearing this, it could be. So we're not going to touch on that too much. But obviously things are not going well for Fev this season off the pitch. But they're also not going great on the pitch either. But you can say that about a lot of the Championship teams. I'm going to argue, this is my big argument for this podcast, the Championship is a better league than Super League in the sense of literally anyone is beating anyone apart from Dewsbury. I'm not going to lie. I'm sorry, Dewsbury.
And Wakefield.
Yeah, and Wakefield. They're the outliers. The other 12 teams, genuinely, you don't know who's going to win every game they play against each other. Whereas in the Super League, if Saints or Wigan or any of that sort of top 5, 6 at the minute are playing any of the others, it's a pretty dead set result, especially Wigan or Saints. I mean, I know Warrington are putting in some really good efforts and looking good as well and stuff, but it's so like if Saints and Cass are playing on a Friday night, you just know the result. If bloody Swindon
if anyone in Cass are playing, you basically know the result.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, I still can't get over that result for Fev. Not because Fev lost. I could imagine Fev losing.
What, scoring 40 at home and still losing to a Glossop Caravan?
Fev have been, you know, they've lost games in the past in the great seasons. They've lost a lot to like Batley and Halifax, were their sort of teams that could pick up points against them. But they were always, you know, you're talking 1918s, you're sort of low scoring, narrow wins. Featherstone have not been a team in the past that would concede 42 points against anyone. And to do that whilst also scoring 40, I mean, that must have been a right game a bit as a neutral, I'm not going to lie. But it's so uncharacteristic and it kind of shows, I guess, how the Championship has evolved, but also how Fev are struggling. And that is because the team's not as good as it has been. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that Fev lineup, right? From the weekend.
I did have a look at it, and
did you see you were playing in halves?
Well, this is what I was just going to say, because I feel like Featherstone's big problem is in the halves because they've just not got a set thing. I mean, Greg Eden and Danny Addy as a halfback combination.
I know. I just it's boggled my mind. I mean, Danny Addy, you know he's going to do a job. Like, I don't mind that. I don't hate that at all. If needs must, Danny Addy has played in the halves before. But I've not got an issue with that. But Greg Eden, you've not signed him to play halfback. I mean, if you have, why didn't you sign one of bloody Halifax's 4 halfbacks who are all good? Like, you could have had Widdop. You could have had Keys.
But Widdop's injured for most of them, so I wouldn't have necessarily gone with that one. But
you could have took any of them. You could have. Like, I just don't get it. It just don't make sense to me. But I mean,
it was a weird starting lineup. I agree with that.
But and then Patton's kicked him to death because Deck Patton is on his comeback story now, isn't he? I tell you. To be fair to him,
what was it? Just a blip when he got sin-binned against the Bulls.
Yeah, he was terrible in that game, but I do think we do give him a lot of stick. But
well, you do.
Yeah, no, don't start. You do as well. But I think you've got to give it credit where it's due. He's probably in the right environment at Swinton, where I think we know the Bradford fan base is toxic at the best of times, and that won't have helped him. Being at Swinton probably does. And, and it seems to be working. I mean, Swinton are picking up points and stuff. And I guess that links again into then. I don't actually know who's going to get relegated this year because you've got Dewsbury down there on 2 who are pretty much dead set to go down. And then I think the next points is it I want to say maybe they're all on 9 points. I know it's Halifax and York are the next 2.
It's one of those where, and I mean, this is kind of like saying at the top. 2nd to 6th are separated by 3 points, as are 7th down to 13th. This is crazy close. I mean, you've probably got a dividing line there in terms of your top 6 are your clear top 6. One of them is going to miss out on the Championship Shield playoff race at the end.
Yeah, I
You've
just
got
think
7th down where they're in trouble.
Yeah, I think because you've got Bradford in 6 on 12, and then Donny in 7 on 9. But then it's still like even between Halifax, who are obviously Halifax and York are probably going to start picking up points. Let's be honest. I mean, Halifax put in a great performance. York just can't get over the line in some games, it seems. But between Widnes in 2nd on 15 and Halifax in 13th on 6, that's only a 9-point difference. That's not that. And I know, and I agree with you. I think the playoffs will contain the 6 who are currently in the top 6. Yeah. I just think it'll be a mumbled up order.
Well, if anyone's going to start falling by the wayside, it's probably going to be pending on this outcome of what Featherstone's winding up order entails.
Yeah. Oh, true. Definitely. Yeah. If they get points deduction or anything, I think it's time to.
Even if they've just got to sell to stay solvent, that could.
I mean, I know that, but I'm like, surely they're not stupid enough to they've just signed Greg Eden and Ben Nakambawa last week. Then they're not cheap players.
Nakambawa is only on loan.
Yeah, but still.
And Eden, I believe, did they pay a fee for him?
I don't know if they paid a fee for him, but they're still paying his wages. He's not going to be on pittance, is he? Let's be honest.
No, but I suppose they've not paid a fee for him, and they think that allows them to then sell somebody else for a fee later down the line. It's not the craziest business model.
Maybe, but I do just think it's weird. But that's not just to say. I'm not just saying. I'm not bashing Fev result wise. Like I say, anyone can beat anyone. And I told you, my call for Swinton to beat Wakey is on. I know they nearly beat them other week. They've beaten Fev. When Wakey go to Swinton, they will lose.
They won't.
I know, but the thing is, Swinton were absolutely gashed when Bulls played as well. So this is it. If you catch them on a good day, you never know. And I mean, it's like Batley at the minute picking up points. They beat us last week, which were our own fault. I'm not going to lie, Batley were good, but it were our own fault. But then they beat Sheffield now. Have Sheffield got an eye on next week? What is going on in this league? Everyone is beating everyone.
Well, I mean, that is a good question, I guess, with Sheffield next week, because we might as well jump into the 1895 Cup preview now. And obviously they are playing Wakefield in the final. Does anyone see anything other than a Wakefield victory, I guess, is the first part of call here?
I'm going to have to say no, because they've got to have an off day, and they had an off day in semi, and they still won. So, they had an off first half, should I say? But I just don't see it. I think they're going to have a lot of fans there. They're going to be loud and proud compared with Sheffield, who have got a nice little fan base. I'm not knocking Sheffield because the fans they have got go home and away, and they're great. And we've witnessed that firsthand at things like the Summer Bash last year and stuff. Sheffield fans that they've got, they sing, they dance, they're great. But I think the overpoweringness of the Wakefield support, I just think it's going to be too much. I mean, Sheffield have won the inaugural one. So are they going to be as hungry as a Wakey side who are desperate, really?
Well, we know why they lost against Batley, don't we? And I think that's going to be the key question of whether that gets resolved as well.
Go on.
No Wellham, no party.
Well, yeah, I didn't even know that, but there you go. But also, what's the sort of knock-on effects? I mean, Wakey have played at home this last week against Dewsbury, obviously, on the Friday as well. So they've had a decent couple of days extra rest, which is a load of bollocks, really, I think. But
I don't think it's going to be the deciding factor. I'm not going to lie.
No, but imagine going. I'm just speaking as a player here. Right? Imagine going from playing on the Batley Hill to playing at Wembley in space of a week. Like, you're going from playing on arguably probably the worst possible rugby pitch in the country versus the best possible.
It wasn't in bad nick, to be fair, when we were there.
The pitch is good. It's just in terms of how you've got to change your game for the conditions of.
Yeah, but Featherstone are on a hill.
I know, nowhere near as bad of a hill though.
No, but they also were in a mud bath on the hill.
Yeah. Oh no, true. Yeah, true. But which obviously will Wakey's downfall in the only game they've actually lost in this calendar year, 2024. So
well, certainly since pre-season at least, they're competitive game.
I think Wakey dominate, get up by 18-0 at half time, maybe go on to win something like 42-6 or something. I don't think they'll have the scare that they had in semi. Just because I think that sort of fast pitch. I mean, at Odsal, it's a narrow pitch, which obviously helped Bradford.
It's a short pitch.
Yeah, the game, and Bradford played out with the skin. That's the best I've seen Bradford play in a long time. That 40 minutes, it was really good, and we still only went up by 2 points or something at half time. Whereas Wakey on a big Wembley pitch, I just can't see anything other than a running riot. Do you know what I mean? Which is sad to say, really, but because I think it would be better. And I'm not saying I'm a Bradford fan, but a Bradford-Sheffield final would be better in terms of unpredictability.
A Bradford-Wakefield final would have been
that'd be
ideal in terms of the two biggest fan bases.
In terms of people staying behind afterwards, because no one's staying behind, I don't think, to watch Wakey put 40 on Sheffield.
No, the thing is, if you'd have had Bradford and Sheffield, there's more people that will hate Bradford and will stay behind to cheer Sheffield on. Whereas I don't feel like Wakefield have this same level of hatred, other than they were the Wigan Athletic of Super League for a while in terms of just clinging on.
Yeah, but then also, like, the one that would hate them is Castleford, and Cass fans won't have bought a ticket to Wembley because they had no chance.
Well, Castle will be buying next year for their 1895 Cup run.
Yeah, maybe so, mate. Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, it's such a, like, I guess it ties again back into Championship. It is such a funny league. I mean, we've got. I'll just touch on this before we move on to sort of Challenge Cup stuff. You got, in terms of in 4th, 5th, and 6th in the Championship, is Fev, Toulouse, Bradford, which was last season's 1, 2, and 3, which just shows how, obviously, Wakey are the outliers. They've come in, we expected that. But how, Widnes are up there flying, like, how stuff can change.
Check out which one of us called that in the Championship prediction video.
Yeah, Widnes have got that sort of steel where they could beat, maybe Widnes got beat Wakey at some point. I don't know. The one thing I've got as a Bulls fan, which we're in 6th, we're level on points with Fev and Toulouse. I'm happy with where we are. We've lost some games we should have won, ultimately. But I'm looking at, we've got, obviously there's 3 more rounds until you've played everyone once. We play Whitehaven away, Donny at home, and Dewsbury away. We should win all 3 of them. And then I'm looking at it, and we're on, we've won 9
right.
13.
Let's just park that right there. Whitehaven away. This is Bradford going to Cumbria. This normally can end in tears.
Yeah.
Doncaster at home.
I'm glad that one's at home, because if that were away, I'd maybe be worried.
I think I'd be worried anyway, given your current tendency to go 2-3 scores up and then decide to go to Beach.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, Doncaster aren't going to go away.
No. But then Dewsbury away, come on.
And then Dewsbury, you can probably turn up at 40th minute and still win. Because no disrespect to Dewsbury, but the squad's not at this level.
But that's, so you can see what I'm saying. No, we should, if we're a team wanting the high playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose one of them games, but I think we should win. In comparison, Widnes, who are 3 points ahead of us, they play Wakey at home, Sheffield away, and Batley at home. So they are, what I'm saying is, we could easily be on the same points as Widnes.
They've probably got 1 win in that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, or were at best 2, in which case it's probably Sheffield was starting to go off the boil a bit, which I can't personally.
But then it's good. As a Bradford fan, whoever wins it, I'm not bothered, because one of them's got to lose, or they both get a point each. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying about how it is all dependent on who teams playing who. And
well, you might get a point at Whitehaven, actually, because they've been king of the draws so far this year.
Yeah, I'm going to say that is true. They've got 2, haven't they? But even like,
mind you, they can kick drop goals, whereas Jordan Lily can't. So
yeah, true. I mean, we've got, and this is we can get. This will turn into a bit of a joke. This on the end of this, but Fev have got Sheffield away, York at home, and then they've got obviously the classic mid-season international game away at Toulouse, where England games on at half time or something.
For God's sake. I mean, when we get to that, that's going to be a podcast in itself in terms of this weird thing.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. You see, out of all of them, I think Featherstone are potentially the ones that's dropped the most points there.
Yeah, Featherstone could lose all three of them.
Yeah,
York,
quite
because
easily.
on the day, York, if they've got Franklin Pelly in front row, I tell you, they'd beat anyone.
Well, he's been on fire at this level.
I'm gonna say so as Ockenbaugh, but he's just not, as he's just like bloody.
You take the man out of Hull, and it's like a completely different player.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. Maybe he's been told if he plays badly, he's got to go back.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, but we'll see. Like I said, basically, Championship is unreal. So is League One, to be fair. We'll shout them out because some of the results down there are a lot tighter than expected. Midlands are really pushing Keighley weekend. North Wales pushing Oldham.
While you're there.
What's that?
Do you want to say your catchphrase while
Yeah, well, it is hurricane season. I'm not going to lie. With Midlands, it's quiet. No one's talking about it in Super League or anything like that in them circles. But Midlands started a couple of years ago as a team that were getting absolutely trashed. And don't get me wrong, it helps that Newcastle are obviously in the league and Cornwall are that step below them. But they're performing, and they've brought in Mark Dunning, and say what you want about him, but he's a coach who's got experience coaching at the Championship level. They've signed some good players, and they have. I know it's not massive steps, but as an expansion project, there is significant signs of improvement.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth touching a bit more on this whole Championship League One changeover thing in a few weeks once everyone's played everyone once. And
yeah, that'll be a good point.
Try and remember to cover that in the pod. But yeah, probably on to the main event then, the Challenge Cup final.
Yeah, what everyone's come to get. Is everyone excited for this? Are you excited for this?
I'm quite intrigued because I think it could. I don't know. I think it could be a really good game. And
yeah,
the 18-19 precursor has kind of whet the appetite a bit more. You've got Wigan, who went quite heavy on this, versus Warrington, who definitely took more players out. And I don't know who's got the psychological advantage now. Because for Warrington, they're coming on the back of a loss. But they know that they've got more in them. That team is not their best team. And the fact that they've ran Wigan close is huge. For Wigan, they obviously got the result. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. You can only play what's in front of you. And they got the 2 points from that. Obviously, the big talking points are pre the inevitable appeal, Wigan have lost Kieran and Dupree to 3-match bans. Obviously, their name is not St. Helens, so there won't be a cry, but it's a final and get it overturned. And ultimately, I don't think that's going to make a difference, by the way. I think they'll potentially miss Kieran.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Dupree lover in the world. I don't necessarily get everything that his game's about. I also think Wigan have got an absolutely stacked pack of forwards that actually they can just bring someone else in, and who really cares? It's like swapping a Henry for a Hetty. It's the same thing, just different shape or different colour in that case.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that.
Do you like the Hoover references since we're playing Warrington, who are sponsored by Hoover?
Yeah.
I'd point that out for anyone who didn't make the connection.
I think it's interesting, does Burgess play some of these young lads who've proved that they can do it? And I think they've obviously gone out there and given him a bit of a headache. Ultimately, I think he'll go with his trusted team.
I don't think you do on this stage. I think if you were going into another league game, like the next week after the final, especially if Wigan do come away with the win, you question it, because actually that's the platform to grow and to improve. Wembley, the occasion potentially gets a bit too much for them. Whereas you'd expect your more senior players like your Dufties, etc., to deal with that expectation a bit better from, their time both historically playing in Super League and also in the NRL, even where they've not necessarily had big final experience. It is at least bigger games than what the kids have had.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it'll be a really good game. I think as a game, it's going to be really good. I think, last week's game probably couldn't have gone any better in terms of setting it up. I think a close game where, like you say, the psychological edge could go. You could argue at either side. Obviously, Warrington rotated, so they kind of maybe have got a bit of a moral sort of victory there with how close they ran Wigan. I think it'll be a similar sort of, maybe even a 1 point sort of game again. Are we going to see back-to-back Golden Point Challenge Cup finals? I hope so.
It'd be interesting.
I hope so. Yeah, that'll be. I will give you the score predictions then.
Well, that depends. We're not vlogging the experience, are we, this week?
No, we won't do. No, we can post on maybe a clip or two might reach Twitter if you're going to follow us on there, guys.
Not plugging the Twitter. I like it. I will go for Warrington 28, Wigan 18.
Wow, high scorer.
Think so.
I'm going to go for 15-14 after Golden Point. I think it'll be one of them.
Are you just not saying who wins and sitting on the fence?
Oh, sorry, Warrington win.
Oh, right, okay.
Sorry, mate, I thought I said that.
I'm going to say get to 14-14, say nothing, and then claim you're right, whichever way it goes.
But I think it'll be cagey with a couple of penalties going over for each team, which is why I'm saying getting on that 14. I don't think they're going to miss conversions. I think it's a case of there'll be a penalty or two knocking about.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think we're probably, in my mind, it's going to be around 18-18. Warrington are going to kick a few penalties, and then in chasing the win, Wigan will it won't come off, and Warrington will go the length.
Yeah, and I think
it'll be another one to seal it later on.
I think it's really good for, and I've not got anything against Wigan. I think if Wigan win, fair play. I'm not going to have any ill feelings. I think it's really good for Super League if Warrington win the Challenge Cup, in terms of showing that this Wigan and Saints sort of dynasty that they've created up at the top, there's room for other people at that table potentially if they can perform on the day.
Yeah, especially with, obviously, in recent years, Leeds and Bradford falling off and Catalan never quite getting over the line on the league side of things. Hull obviously was a flash in the pan.
Yeah. I think Catalan have missed the chance. I think they've missed that boat, actually. I think, you look at the players that they're getting rid of this season, I feel like they're on that. They've kind of reached the peak. And
it's kind of that generation's coming to an end now, and then they're going to have to bring the next lot through, which... who knows? Some of them are probably already there, maybe not all of them. Probably we're getting to the point actually where a lot of we obviously did the whole rebuild a few weeks back. We might have to look at a few other clubs, and
Catalans are probably not quite there yet. There's a few teams in front of them in queue, I think.
There probably is, but equally that's quite a good one because you've got to try and preserve this lineage up at the top. You can't make the same cutthroat changes, but also you've got to be smart about it. So I actually think it's quite a tough job for them. But yeah, like you said, I think Warrington winning would be good for the league. I apologise straight away to our wonderful friend Egremont, who is a Wigan fan by trade, and we've both just said that we hope your team loses.
Yeah.
But I stand by what I said.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt if Wigan go on to win and stuff, we might have to get him on again just to have a little gloat.
I will clip this and bully us with it, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you'll be seeing this clip flying around Egremont's Twitter account. But no, it's
no. What we hope happens is they'll win their game on Saturday, and then everything's just ignored because we're too caught up in an Egremont win.
Yeah. I want to ask it? Does conference and stuff play on Challenge? Because I know no other leagues play in terms of your Super League, Champ League One sort of thing.
I think they might do.
I would hope not, because I think the idea is to get as many people to Wembley as possible. I'd be giving out free tickets to
No, they do not.
Yeah, well, there we go then. Hopefully we get an healthy crowd as well. I mean, we're not going. We're going to be watching it from the comfort of my living room. So
yeah, we're going to put a sign that says Wembley above your living room door, so we can say we're in a form of Wembley.
Yeah,
we should probably touch on game one of the day, actually, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we'll close out with a bit of a preview for women,
which has kind of got lost a bit in the excitement because it's obviously the exact same lineup that we saw last year. St Helens versus Leeds, who once again defeated Wigan in the semi-finals to book their place at Wembley. Can we see anything other than Saints returning? I can, and obviously I'm probably more invested in it than you.
Yeah, I was going to hope that you were going to predict Leeds, and I was going to say, like, when the Saints go marching in, do you know? I'm gonna.
I'd love Leeds to win.
Well, we'll be watching this anyway, won't we? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So there we go. I'll be supporting.
The magic of the number 7 carry them through.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good game as well. It'll be an interesting one to watch. I mean, I think at that level, when you get them sort of top 3, which I know people say it kind of is just them 2 and York up there. Them games that they all have always are good.
It kind of is, though, isn't it? It's Leeds, Saints, York as one cluster. Wigan are kind of just beneath that, but ahead of everyone else. And what's the rest of the WSL? Barrow, Warrington, Featherstone, and Huddersfield.
Maybe. I know Bradford got relegated, but what I'm saying is when you go down...
Yes, you got relegated. I remember that bit.
I mean,
it was like watching the men's again.
Bradford yesterday lost. I mean, the other week after we played, did they
lose?
No, but other week they put like 50 on Cass, and then last week yesterday they got beat 62-0.
Everyone puts 50 on Cass near enough.
No, but then we've gone from doing that to them beating Lee 62. No, losing to Lee, 62-0 or something. Like, it's such a weird the championship.
Glad you didn't stay for it.
Head loss. What's that?
But you're glad you didn't stay for that game then.
I'm gonna say, yeah. That's why, because you just never know what you're gonna get. It's crazy. Really.
That's why you stay for 10 minutes and find out if they're bothered to turn up or not.
Yeah, true, I guess. But no, I'm looking forward to that game. All 3 games, I think the third one is going to be the worst of the lot in terms of the closeness. But that's fine. We'll still watch it.
You'd imagine so going into it, at least. I mean, obviously, who knows what happens on the day. One of the teams could really hit form and the other will just have an off day, and that blows the score out early on. But, yeah, on paper, it's the one that probably looks the most cut and dry.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have a good laugh with it and, hopefully Sheffield turn up and make it a good game.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And, yeah, for you guys at home, I'm sure you'll be watching. I hope you enjoy all of them. And anyone going to Wembley, you know what you've got to do. Make it sing for rugby. Because it's a great occasion and it's so much more this year.
No, definitely. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. I mean, next week's pod's going to be fun if we're dissecting if anything interesting happens. But obviously, again, like you mentioned...
Well, at this rate, next week's pod might be rest easy, the history of Featherstone Rovers, depending how the winding up order goes.
Yeah, I'm going to say there could be not even a club anymore by then, but we'll see.
We shall. But until then, guys, will Featherstone still exist? Will Wakefield win the 1895, 1975, whatever the bloody hell it's called, AB Sundex Cup? Who's winning the Challenge Cup? Let us know everything in the comments. And of course, your favourite moments from Burrow's career, because ultimately that's the bit we all care about the most.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, thanks for listening and watching, guys. It's been a good one.
Until next time, goodbye.